Forget everything you thought you knew about Ferrari's 2025 Formula One campaign, because in the twisted alleys and shimmering barriers of Monaco, something unexpected just happened. Charles Leclerc didn't just top the timesheets, he flipped the narrative. A driver cursed by misfortune on home soil returned with a vengeance. And the car that supposedly struggled in slow-speed corners, it came alive in the most technical and demanding circuit on the calendar. But here's where it gets suspicious. Was this a stroke of luck? Or did Ferrari plan everything? What if their entire strategy was built around this single race? The evidence is in the data, the lap times, and the sectors that left even the top teams chasing shadows. This wasn't just a practice session, this was a revelation. Charles Leclerc has never had it easy at Monaco. From heartbreaks in qualifying to DNFs on race day, the streets of Monte Carlo have haunted him year after year. But this weekend felt different from the moment he left the garage. In Free Practice 1 and Free Practice 2, Leclerc was untouchable. Despite clipping the barriers and even snapping off his front wing after a brush with Lance Stroll, he regrouped and came back faster. This wasn't luck. It was raw, calculated aggression. At a circuit where confidence is everything, Leclerc didn't flinch. And that makes what comes next all the more fascinating, because this isn't just about a local hero putting on a show. It's about a car finally clicking in a way that no one saw coming. Now let's talk about where things get strange. Ferrari's SF25 has been criticised all season long for its struggles in low-speed corners. That's been their Achilles' heel from the very beginning. Yet here, on a track composed almost entirely of slow corners, the car looked reborn. Leclerc's pace wasn't just good, it was surgical. Take a look at the sector times from FP2. In particular, turn 8 and turn 12. That's where the magic happened. While Lewis Hamilton was consistent, Leclerc was carving through those turns like he owned them. And that kind of confidence, it doesn't come from nowhere. It felt like Ferrari wasn't just matching the top teams, they were outclassing them in their weakest area. Oscar Piastri and McLaren had been one of the strongest combinations in recent races, especially in technical corners, and that seemed to hold true in the first half of the lap. But as the cars entered the final sector, the one that defines Monaco's bravery quotient, everything flipped. Leclerc didn't just gain time, he erased the deficit. The Delta graph tells the story. In the final sector, where most drivers tap the brakes and play it safe, Leclerc surged. He wasn't just fast, he was fearless. And that Delta? It shows Ferrari gaining exactly where they were supposed to struggle. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a great lap. It was about Ferrari turning their biggest weakness into a weapon. Against Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc was up by 0.163 seconds. Against Lando Norris, a commanding 0.326 seconds. That's not just fast, that's dominance. Especially in Sector 3, where bravery and car balance meet at the edge of disaster. Leclerc wasn't scraping time off the board, he was banking it while others were bleeding it away. And this wasn't about Verstappen or Norris lacking talent. They're both at the top of their game, but Leclerc had something they didn't. A car that suddenly made sense in the most unexpected of ways. Ferrari wasn't surviving Monaco, they were owning it. So what changed? Did Ferrari secretly bring a new upgrade package? Not quite. The SF25, while unchanged mechanically, was finally in its element. Monaco forces teams into soft suspension settings, higher ride heights, and compromises that typically don't favour cars designed for more aggressive setups. But in this case, it masked Ferrari's flaws. That same rigidity that punished them in Bahrain and Baku was now giving them stability through high-speed direction changes. Turn 12 became a hotspot. While the McLarens looked solid through the chicanes, it was the Ferrari that stayed planted during the transitions. This wasn't an upgrade, it was an unintentional advantage. And it worked. The Monaco Grand Prix is more than just a race for Charles Leclerc. It's his backyard, his childhood streets, his family's legacy. So when he threads the needle at 300 kilometers per hour through corners named after legends, it's not just about points, it's personal. And you can feel that in every sector split. Leclerc's intensity in Sector 3 wasn't just technical, it was emotional. He was extracting performance in places where fear normally wins. And this time, the car backed him up. It was as if every bit of heartbreak from past Monaco weekends was fueling his pace. And that passion? It was undeniable. Now here's the part that no one's talking about. What if Ferrari planned for this? What if, while everyone else focused on traditional power circuits, Ferrari quietly optimized their balance sheet for Monaco? Think about it. No visible upgrades. No radical setup changes. Just a car that suddenly fits the one circuit where overtaking is nearly impossible and qualifying reigns supreme. Could it be that the Scuderia built their weekend strategy around this track from day one? Because if they lock out the front row in qualifying, they're holding the cards in a game everyone else just joined. And if that's true, then this wasn't a fluke, it was a masterstroke. If the SF25 wasn't actually changed, but merely unlocked, what does that say about the rest of the calendar? Is Ferrari sitting on untapped potential that only shows itself under extreme conditions? Or is Monaco a one-off mirage that flatters a car still riddled with flaws? One thing is certain, if they convert this practice dominance into pole position and possibly a win, it redefines their trajectory, from midfield frustrations to potential race winners. It's a redemption arc nobody predicted. But there's a warning buried in the optimism. If this car only thrives under rare conditions, Ferrari still has a long year ahead. But if they've cracked something deeper, some set-up truth or mental barrier, then the red cars might just be back in business. What we saw on Friday wasn't just a promising start, it was a message. A bold, unmistakable signal that Ferrari is not done fighting. Leclerc's performance wasn't a fluke. It was the culmination of pressure, pain, and persistence finally boiling over. This wasn't about topping practice sessions for show. It was about rewriting a narrative that's haunted both the team and their homegrown star for years. If they dominate qualifying and control the race, it won't just be a highlight, it'll be a full-blown turning point. The kind of moment that shakes the paddock and redefines expectations. Because if Ferrari didn't upgrade the SF25 but simply unlocked it, then how much potential have they really been sitting on? Could Monaco be the beginning of something far bigger? A late-season resurgence fueled by belief, precision, and the perfect storm of setup and confidence? One thing's for sure. If Charles Leclerc turns this into a win in front of his home crowd, the emotional impact will be seismic, not just for him, but for every red-blooded fan in Maranello. So keep watching. Because what began as a quiet Friday may have just detonated the most dramatic twist of the 2025 season. And if Ferrari is back, the rest of the grid should be very, very nervous. If you felt the shift in the air like we did, then you already know this weekend isn't just another race, it's a statement. So if you're as hooked on the unfolding drama as we are, make sure you hit that like button to boost this story beyond the algorithm. Subscribe to stay ahead of the curve as we break down every twist, every sector, and every strategy that could reshape the 2025 season. And we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Do you think Ferrari has finally turned a corner, or is this just Monaco casting its usual spell? Are we looking at the rebirth of a title contender, or a brilliant one-off under the lights of the most deceptive circuit in Formula One? Because here's the truth, Monaco might be short on overtakes, but it's never short on revelations. And what we saw on Friday could be the start of something massive, or the ultimate tease. Whether it's redemption or illusion, the impact is already echoing across the paddock. The grid just got a wake-up call, and it came in red.